Well, good morning and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. And I say good morning when I realize that it is not morning for one of my guests here this morning. Vivek, it's good afternoon for you. And
Namaste.
namaste to you too. But it is morning here in Victoria, BC. So it's morning in my life. And I think it's afternoon for you as well, Carlo, isn't it?
No, it's 9 o'clock.
Oh, is it?
Okay,
Are you in the Pacific Pacific region? Oh,
last time I checked.
okay. So it is morning for the rest of us. So this morning, excuse me, just a moment. I see Paul is here. I need to just hit the right button so he can come in. Normally what we do, once we've said good morning to each other, or I've said good morning and introduced what we are, and we're a success circle that meets on a weekly basis, just to share and enjoy one another's company and figure out ways. And I think that when we share things with each other and sometimes do a little business with each other, it has the effect of increasing our confidence in what we're doing, and makes it a lot of fun, I think. Does everybody agree? It's a lot of fun?
Yep.
Great. So, Paul, you got here just in time we're just beginning our introductions, so welcome here. So I'll start at the other end. Carlo, how would you like to introduce yourself and say where you are and what you're doing and any little announcements that you might want to make?
Okay, good morning. Carlos Avia, Las Vegas. I run a comfortably small digital consultancy here in Vegas. I only work with 6 to 8 clients at a time, and I'm happy to be part of this group.
I'm happy to have you as part of this group.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Jay, you're next.
Hi, my name is Jay, and I hail from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And I have 2 companies. One is Affiliate Resources Incorporated, which is the internet marketing side of our business. And second business is Magi Studios Incorporated, which is local marketing. And we have a tool set. Very excited to launch a suite of tools that we've been working on. And we're calling it Magi Tools, and it's about acquiring leads and funneling local businesses and franchises into your business model. So very, very excited about that.
So you finally announced it.
I finally announced it. It's been a long, expensive road. So I'm hoping to see a little bit of ROI. So if not, whatever, it's all good.
So we'll be talking more about that in the future. I'm absolutely certain. So welcome here, Jay. It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
And Paul.
Good morning. I'm from beautiful downtown Victoria, British Columbia, where the sun is shining, and we're in the middle of our blossom count that we do every year. At this time, just to make the rest of Canada feel ugly about the snow they've got, we count flowers. So that's what's going on in Victoria with our sense of humor that we have. And what do I do? Yes, well, we have TTG International Management, where we just simply try to turn ideas into profitable actions.
Right on, and thank you. And while we were in the green room, I did share with Carlo and Vivek a picture of one of the streets in James Bay that is just a mass of cherry blossoms. So I got there before you. So welcome, Paul. Nice to have you here as usual. And Vivek.
Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. My name is Vivekanand, and at the moment I am in UK, United Kingdom, closer to London. I am a software developer, have been a software developer, project manager since 1985. So, long
Wow.
time.
You're new at it.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you decided to join us this morning, Vivek. And for those of you that don't know, I was part of Vivek's hangout yesterday morning, and it was at 6 a.m. So the time differences can really get in the way sometimes. So I might just say a little something about what I do. I'm a work style lifestyle coach and consultant. That's the name of my business, Work Style Lifestyle Consulting. I like to work with solopreneurs to help them overcome procrastination, stay motivated, and build systems that support and promote their businesses. And I too am in Victoria, as listeners might guess. And what I'm working on right now, I'll be doing one of my beginners Google for Business courses on Thursday for a local real estate company. So, of course, I had to go back to my my piece. I had it developed long ago, but Google has made numerous changes, and so I've had to change the course content quite a bit, and go in and make sure that all the pieces are working the way I think they ought to work. And so I think I'm pretty well ready, and so that should be fun. And I now that I've got the adjustments made, I may offer it in a slightly a wider angle, but this is for one specific company. So
this is an ongoing game plan with you, right? With all of Google's changes, you secure a customer. It's a lifetime job to keep them.
Well, there is some value in that, for sure. And our friend Craig, who may or may not join us this morning, helped me yesterday. I discovered I had two Google My Business pieces in there, and I had to figure out how to get rid of one, and because one was verified and the other one wasn't. So it was quite an exercise. So this morning we're going to talk about evaluating a prospect. And so on my little bit of research I did yesterday, I thought, well, let's begin with what on earth is a prospect. So I Googled the word, and what came up was a potential client which has, or who has, I think works better, has expressed the need for the products or services of the seller. And I found that really telling, because, you know, just thinking about people, everybody out there as a prospect is not quite what this says. It means that they have to have expressed a need. So, and I saw, I was into all kinds of sales sites, and there's online, there's loads and loads and loads of information about sales processes and what you need to do and so forth. But somebody, and I didn't write down who said it, but one person said, "Don't throw darts in the dark." And that really resonated for me. So I thought I would show you one way that, and so in other words, what we need to do is really be find the people who have expressed a need that we know that they need what we offer. And so yes.
There's one thing, caveat, I think we need to put in there.
Mm-hmm.
and who has the ability to pay
Oh, yeah.
for the service or product.
Yes.
This is something I'm finding with people, that they have all of these prospective clients that they want to deal with when they haven't determined whether they actually have the ability to remunerate the supplier properly. So I think that's an important piece to put in there.
I agree with you 100%, and I was going to get to that, so it's good that you brought that up.
Well, it's kind of in the definition. The sooner you get to that, the better off you are. That's all, because time is money.
Absolutely.
Okay, carry on. Sorry,
I was just going to show you, and by the way, this came to me in the shower this morning, which is where all my good ideas come from. In the shower. I should live there. So I was going to show you, and I will screen share. I was going to show you one way that you can find out who some of your prospects might be. Now that I'm putting a might in there because while these people have expressed a need in some way, we don't know whether they meet that other caveat that Paul met. But I thought it would be interesting to share this. So I'm going to share my screen and show you where you can, where and how you can do that, just even within Google+. So hang on and bear with me and let me see if I can do this. Yeah, I can. So you see what I have up here is I'm in Google Collections. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 collections in Google. And I have one that's called Supports for Solopreneurs. So I'll open that. And there are all kinds of things in here that I've shared, that I've posted, etc. So that's one of the places where you can put things that you want to do. But what I wanted to show you was over here. I hope you can see my cursor. Yes, you can. There's a place here where it says collection followers. So I can click on that, and these are all the people who are following this particular collection. So I would think, because I've called this and put things in here, supports for solopreneurs, I would think that this would be a place to find people who might be prospects. So that is just one small way that you can determine who might be a prospect.
Are you able to do that on other people's collections? Are you able to see that data?
That's a good question. Let's go back and look. Let's see. I need to go back here.
By the way, that's a fantastic tip. What you just showed.
Yeah. It just occurred to me.
Yeah.
So you see, I'm back in the collections, and you'll see at the top there are 3 items there: featured, following, and yours. So I'm in my, yours right now. So if I go to following, and let's just look at this one that I was kind of interested in. So if I open that, can I look to see? No. Turn notifications on, report abuse or help. So that obviously is something that's just for your own collection.
Right. Now, are you following that collection?
Yes, I am. You can see down here where it says following it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But what I can tell you, and this is something that's really important, if you're on Google Plus and in a collection that you really enjoy and you're really interested in, you want to turn the notifications on. Otherwise, when something new gets posted there, what will happen is it'll show up here in the notifications. So I think that's one thing that came to me this morning as one way, because I've got I post things that are specifically for solo entrepreneurs, that the people that are following me there are possible prospects.
So they're suspects.
They're suspects. Yes, that's a good word. So,
Because if I may, the beauty of collections is that somebody could follow a topic that you're doing that interests them
yeah,
without necessarily having to be fully engaged.
that's right.
So that's supposedly becoming the better way to replace the circles.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you but the same goes for both communities and collections. If you have to turn the notifications on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's all within the person's control. They have control over what they get, what they get to see. And that gives me, because they have expressed something by following, that tells me that they're interested in my topic. So yeah. So so that was my brilliant idea this morning about finding suspects. Thank you, Carlo.
Yeah.
But I started thinking about the whole thing about prospects and what specific tools, and really I got to the point where I was thinking that rather than a specific tool, there are certain things that we do that are extremely important. And the first one that I would say is listening. So when we meet people and we don't know whether they're a prospect or not, they might be a suspect, we have to find some way to listen to them. And the other piece around qualifying people or evaluating whether this person really is a suspect only or is a prospect, then we need to be asking the right kinds of questions. So asking questions is really, really important. And so that really means that we have to find some way to have a real conversation with people before we can determine whether they're just a person out there, a suspect, or a prospect. So,
Lola, for the sake of the concept, defining suspect as using the police definition, someone who is connected near to what it is that you're offering.
mm-hmm.
So the idea, it goes from a suspect that someone, okay, they use the internet, they're engaged a little bit in the internet, they may not know that they would be interested in your services.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go into a prospect where you're describing now by qualifying them, or actually by engaging in a conversation, which I'd like to talk about later,
Right.
and then qualifying them, because they may be a suspect prospect, but they're not a fit.
Right.
As Paul said, earlier, and to it, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die, according to Loretta Lynn.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's a really interesting distinction. I like that. So I mean, there are various stages along that relationship piece.
The way it was taught to me back in the day when my hair was dark is to think about the submarine movies, and where in the submarine movie, when the submarine was in deep trouble, they gradually moved from section to section and locked it off until they could jettison to safety out of the torpedo tube, if you remember those those movies. Okay. Now, so by compartmentalizing each section at a time, you go through the suspect, prospect, qualified prospect, presentation, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So those you do those stages innately. You're just putting a label on them for, remembering. It's like putting the footsteps on the dance floor.
Right. So something to follow. Yeah. So, but I mean, there's an awful lot online right now that's speaking about trust, and that's probably because David Amerlin just wrote a book on trust, building trust, and so he's been on lots of hangouts and talking about what that means. But really, that there really, I mean, building trust is something that happens over a period of time. And so that has to be woven into this whole process in some way. How does a prospect determine whether they trust us enough?
Just think of Ringo Starr. All I got to do is naturally.
Right. But yes, that's true. Act naturally, or be authentic, or be yourself, or whatever. There's all kinds of terminology for that.
If you watch David Amerlin's presentations, they're very well crafted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not to say that they are stilted, but they're always homey, visiting. Okay, that's all premeditated movement.
Yes.
Yes, it's a big factor. There are people that you physiologically like their appearance, and you would append the title, okay, I can trust them. Or there are certain icons in society that you're led to believe you're supposed to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are using buzzwords for the sake of using buzzwords, it's kind of like an expression I love. It says it, by faking trust, it's like putting lion's teeth on a hamster. The two problems are, A, the hamster people will come to expect too much, and the lion people won't be fooled.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I mean, it's a real the two things just go together incredibly.
So, Luann, I have a question.
Yes.
How much does a referral circumvent or establish trust? So rather than me having to build the trust with you, if I have the trust with Jay and Jay refers me, is that enough trust?
It's called legitimizing. And it bears a lot, Paul. It bears a lot because let's say you're a known figure in your community and I'm seen over lunch with you and Jay sees me, I'm sitting with you, and he says, oh yeah, okay, I saw Carlos sitting with Paul. He must be, if Paul can put up with him, if Paul can suffer him, then I can. Although a funny incident in my life was a friend who I was trying to get through the process of qualifying as a suspect prospect. Back in the day when you did lunch meetings, more often than now, I found out that his neighbor, who was the dean of health sciences at a local college, they were good neighbors. So I said to this first guy, oh, I understand that so-and-so is your neighbor. He and I are good friends. We belong to a certain club together. I said, oh, really? So he agreed to the luncheon. And then I asked this friend to join us for luncheon. So now, imagine a parking lot with a small incline towards the restaurant. And the three of us get out our car at the same time, and we walk towards the suspect. And he puts his hand to his head. He goes, gosh, I have never lost respect for two friends at the same time.
Geez, that sounds like a scene from Reservoir Dogs or something. With three of you getting out at the same time, walking towards this guy. He's probably like, "Sweet Jesus, what's going on?"
Okay, let me quit. We got out of two different cars, but it was just really funny. His humor was great.
Yeah.
Never lost a friend. Whatever. It was a funny moment.
Yeah, to kind of go with what Paul was mentioning, is it's like mobsters vouching for people. You know, it's like, so when you and I are having lunch and someone else, a prospect, sees that, it's like that instantly not builds trust, but it certainly gains it up. You know,
Yeah.
and I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, there's certain elements online that can help you build your trust for people. So one of them, which I don't use, is LinkedIn. You know, I know a lot of people use LinkedIn to kind of, it's like a CV, if you will, right? So it's like your resume. You know, another one is your website. So if you contact me with a potential for, you know, a product or service that you're selling, you know, I'm going to do my due diligence, and because it's perked my interest. So I'm going to go and look at your website and determine, like, all right, well, let's go take a look, right? You know, and I think that's what I tell clients. You know, is your website is really a place for people to do their due diligence and look and you know, pre-qualify you, if you will.
So how do you account for Bernie Madoff's website?
Bernie Madoff's? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's a sniff test, right? It's not the end all of you know, it's not going to be the determining factor. So, you know, like a sniff test with checking out wine, you know, you're going to smell it. It's going to smell great, you know, but until you actually taste it, you know, not that I'm saying you need to taste your clients, you know, I mean, we're not talking about Hannibal here, but, you know, you need to certainly get as much information as you certainly can, you know, and I think having like testimonials and proof factors, proof elements, certainly can help, you know, people make sound decisions and stuff. There was a tool, actually, and I think, you know, when it comes to offering services and talking to potential leads and prospects, there was a tool that Paul introduced me to. Actually, when he approached me, he wanted to see some of my tools. Excuse me. And it's called appear.in. And what it is, it's very similar to Google Plus, with the exception of all you need to do is give a person your that link. So in my case, it's appear.in/Magic Studios. And if I'm logged in and you go to that site, you'll instantly see me. So it's a really great way to set up a real quick meeting if someone isn't, you know, within your city. So I mean, Paul, I thank you for showing me that, you know, subconsciously showing me that, if you will, you know, because I've been using it, you know, relentlessly. It's pretty cool. I really like it, and you can share your screen, so you don't have to set up a time, an appointment. They don't have to be on Google. They don't have to be signed up with anything. You know, it's just they just have to have an internet connection and a browser. And then you can have a quick meeting with them. It's fantastic.
But do they have to be subscribed to Appear.in?
Nope, not at all. No, it's a great tool. Yeah, to me it's a salesperson's dream tool for reaching out in front of people. You know, getting in front of people who like, for example, with my stuff, you know, people want to see a demo of the tool, or they, you know, it's so we have a sales pipeline where we acquire leads through email and through what's called a snapshot report, and we can see inside our internal CRM if people are literally jiggling the handle, you know, of the software. We can tell if they've looked at the email, when the email, what time of day they looked at the email. Where they clicked, so if they clicked on the email and then it goes to a specific area of the tool, we can see where people are doing that. So at which point then we can follow up with people and say, hey, I see you're interested in Magi Social, a place where you can manage your social media and acquire new leads. Let's jump over on Appear In, you know, at this date and this time. Or hey, if you got 10 minutes right now, let's just go to the site and we can talk about it right now. And then boom, they're in.
So your point is find a way to accommodate a conversation quickly and easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I mean that's an important tool in that whole process of qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's free.
And it's free. Yeah. And Vivek, you had something you wanted to.
I actually have a question for the panel. Since I'm an engineer and I don't know how to sell really, I went through sales training, and one of the sales training I did was called as Sandler.
Oh yes.
And this is one of the slides I have from them. A prospect who is listening is no prospect at all. So what do you think of this? They call it's rule number 14, Sandler Rule. In the class actually I joked saying that is it something like the Ferengi rule of acquisition? Ferengi from the Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah. Well, I think a lot of it. I think that rule number 14 is essentially meaning your product and or your service should sell itself. So whereas you don't have to convince them that this is the tool or the service or the product for you, they should be able to try the tool and go, oh, this is for me, as opposed to you convincing them. If you have to convince them, I think to a point where there's sales is all about talking and selling, and showing people what the product or the service is. But I think maybe 80% of it should be where they're able to see it themselves and be convinced, and it's they're a warm to a hot lead, and it's going to be that much more easier to convert. But I also think it's all on how you acquire that lead. If you go and reach out to someone, then it's going to take more convincing because they know nothing about your product or service. They don't even know if they need that service. But if a lead comes to you saying, oh, hey, I'm interested in your product or your service, that's going to be a lot easier. Right, and I think where that rule number 14 comes into play.
Vivek, can I take a shot at that question?
Yeah.
Please, yeah, okay. Go ahead.
I'm familiar with the Sandler system. It's a franchise that's been around for 3 or 4 decades, and they've morphed into a lot of different things. I think that image has a lot behind it that needs to be discussed. And the way I'll ask you to take a shot at your question is, you as an engineer who's not a salesperson, luckily, how would you present your services to another engineer?
Yeah, I expect a lot of questions from the other person, and get ready for questions, and in fact, if there are no questions, then I'll be really suspicious.
Excellent. So it not to minimize, again, companies like that make lots of money selling to the hopes and dreams of people who are aspiring to reach certain levels, but life is an ongoing process. You have to live it moment to moment. And if you try to do cat and mouse with another human being, they're going to see you coming, like with a foghorn. Whereas if you sincerely engage, you're going to find out if there's a fit between your product or service and them. So all the epigrams, you go back to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And one time in my life, I bought a copy, took it apart, put epigrams all over the wall. and they became psychosynthesized. They do work, but then after a while, as you pack all that stuff up, and you just, as Jay seems to be able to, just to engage innocently with somebody.
So, can I go back to the question I asked, and there's a reason. First of all, I don't ever like to think of selling. I always think of my prospects' buying process, how they're buying, and where they are in that, because I just find that easier for me to understand than trying to figure out how to sell them something. Know how people buy from me and know where they are in that process. But today, increasingly, people are buying with that little thing that's in their hand, and I'm wondering if you take the buying process. It's appearing to me that more and more, and this depends on the size of what you're selling as well, but more and more people are looking for that immediate thing, and at that point, a referral seems to take them a long way along that buying process. In other words, a simple buying process, I always say, is just awareness, trust, want now, and buy. So if you can cut most of that out if you have someone referring you, because the awareness, the trust, the want, and the want now have all been pre-qualified, because you're asking or you're looking for something, and I know you're looking for it. And it seems to me that that's where businesses are not spending the amount of time that they should be, and are not capitalizing on that. And it's increasingly important because of the speed with which people are making buying decisions. So that's kind of where I was going with that.
Well,
Paul, you so a lot of those little apps that we all have on our phones, I guess I would make a distinction between a referral and a review, because all those little apps offer you the opportunity to do a review, as does Google Maps and all kinds of other things. But I guess I interpreted your question more when you said, how much does a referral build trust? I saw referral as being something that one person that I really know or trust or respect makes an introduction and a referral to somebody else, is being a slightly different from looking at reviews and making buying decisions based on that. So I think that a referral from somebody that I trust has a whole lot more weight in the whole trust building thing. It's still not a final thing. Just because somebody said, "Oh, I think you like somebody, I think you should buy their whatever." I mean, just because they do that doesn't mean that I'm going to do it, but it means I'm going to listen a lot harder.
So
and I'm going to pay more attention.
I understand and agree, but more and more what I find is happening is I'm frustrated with something, and the people that in my network, through whatever device I've got in my hand, know of my frustration and begin to offer solutions to me. So that's what I'm talking about by a referral, where I'll say, okay, I'm sick and tired of this stupid email system, and you're going to come to me and say, oh, by the way, hey, check this out. Mm-hmm. I'm using this and I like it. So, and this is happening more and more, and that's what I mean by sort of the instant referral that's going on. And Jay's built, I mean, he's nailed this so well in his program, because he's able to identify that.
Yeah.
Just target it. So it just seems to me that this process is happening a lot faster.
Oh yeah.
And if people spend more time on the customers they have and engaging them to be advocates rather than trying to attract new customers, those people will bring the new customers. That's the point that I'm trying to make, that the old process seems to be taking the steps are there, but it's taking too long in this day and age of speed.
It's a good point.
Can I quickly say something to Vivek? Just kind of brought to my attention. One of the things that I had or have in the development process of my software is I had a salesperson as part of the development team, and not to actually work on the software, but to make it a sellable asset. So that's something that you might want to think about, Vivek, is maybe get some sort of sales consulting in kind of the engineering or whatever it is that you sell. You know, bring on a sales consultant, because a sales consultant can help you mold how the product is. And to what Paul mentioned, how I kind of nailed it down. Thank you, by the way, Paul. I appreciate that. It was the result of me being a salesperson, you know, for many moons, but also bringing in some sales consultants, like, and I'm talking about old dog sales consultants, like that were like, hey, let's do lunch and this kind of thing, you know, where a handshake is a bond and that kind of thing, and a new salesperson. So and we were all able to collaborate to create the tools. So I think it's really important in any kind of development of a product or a service is to bring in this, and even in everyone here in this panel, everyone's sales offering, a product or service offering, bring in a sales consultant to help you mold your whatever it is that you're selling, because I think that's because then you know, rule number 14 comes into play, and then you don't need to sell because the product will sell itself.
The only thing that sells itself is Apple. And you ain't selling apples.
Well, and it seems to me in this whole sales thing, I think we're dancing around it, but really what's happening is it used to be kind of the salesperson out there finding the prospect and convincing them they need it and doing all this work, whereas today I don't think people, and that's what we mean when we talk about being sold to.
If you define sales as trying to get to somebody to buy something they may not want or may not need, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're doing consultative selling, as you do,
yeah,
there's a pathway to a medium of exchange.
Well, but I mean, that old-fashioned, and I too have had a Sandler experience, but that I mean, there was some really good information in that program. I wouldn't put it down, but the old way is it's all about sort of everything going one way, and it strikes me, given what Paul was just saying, is that it's now going the other way. So the consumer identifies a need or a want and then goes and looks for it, and we have to be there in the right place and doing the right things in order to be able to respond to that.
Is it truly going away, or is it just that it's become more of a binary decision?
A binary decision means it's a two-way thing, right?
The 0-1, 0-1, 0-1.
Yeah.
So what Paul describes is it appears that it's taking away the quote-unquote human touch, but the human touch is manifested through the binary decision, because you've learned to make the synapse, taking away. It's like when I look at financial packages. These guys will send me reams of paper, digital paper, and I say, look, just give me 2-3 pages. Take out the pictures. Take out tell me why this is going to affect tourism. Just give me just give me the meat, and from that I can begin to make a decision. So now they spend maybe 1,200 hours building their bank presentation package, but myself or a lender is going to look at 2 or 3 pages and then make that binary decision that if they want to investigate further. So It's the same thing. It's just short-circuited or synapsed better.
But I don't think all sales are as linear as what you're suggesting, though, or at least that's the path that's happening. It really does depend on the product or the service. If it's a creative product, I think someone's not going to do just this binary decision. I agree with you to a certain extent, Carlo. I think in some situations, financial planning, it is very binary. It's like, all right, well, let me crunch the numbers. Does this work? Am I going to buy gold today? No, because it's up $5. I'm going to wait till it goes back down. Or, are you going to consult someone else?
Okay, I invite you to consider this. If you truly believed that, you wouldn't have a website. You'd be selling. You'd say, I tell you what I'm going to do because you got it on his face. I'm going to let you have this widget. Well, where's your website? No, I don't need a website.
Yeah. A website is a creative process, though.
Okay. It's a creative process. So is talking.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So while you're entitled to your beliefs, you're not entitled to your own facts, because you in fact are emulating what other people have been emulating since we started putting words on glass.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to say, when someone sees a website, an email address, some people will backscrape that email address, plug it into a browser, and say, "Okay, it doesn't say coming soon, GoDaddy. It says boom, 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 boom." So that's a binary decision.
Yeah. Well, I think the binary decision is the end result. The visiting the website is not the binary decision. The website can be as creative as possible. But the end result is yes or no. But I think if you're in a world where it's linear and it's like yes or no, as opposed to here's why it should be a yes, as opposed to here's why it should be a no. There could be some creativity in there.
We're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing from different value process.
So what I'm hearing when you're talking about this binary thing, this is a very left brain kind of way of looking at things, and I hear Jay sort of bringing in the right brain piece. And
you don't think other people can have both left and right brains?
Yes, I do. I sure hope they do.
Okay. I just wanted to set the agenda.
But when I say that the binary thing is a very left brain thing, I mean left brain is very linear. It's just the facts, one thing after another, and the right brain is where the creative part and the emotional part, and that's a piece that we haven't really even talked about here. Is the emotional piece, and I can tell you that when I find somebody who thinks that they need coaching, that emotional piece is a very large part of it. So when we get together and we have a conversation, we determine whether we have the same kind of value base. There's a whole lot that happens in that right brain place before there's ever that binary decision is made. Yeah.
Okay. Not that I'm selling the decision, but I think I invite you to take some soak time and throughout the course of your doing business with the world as a consumer and as a vendor, make note of how many times you make binary decisions. Decisions decisions, people will say, oh, that's a business decision. More often than not, business decisions are made for personal reasons. Whether it's political, whether it's on Wall Street. People buy Apple software stock because they like the name. They want to be that. People reject so-and-so stock because they don't like what they're doing politically. But because of all these tools that we have in our hands, people know more about a vendor before the vendor knows about a suspect. And so, yes. So the trick would be, Lolan, and I think you excel at it, is to give a person a sense of comfort that they feel grateful that they found you. Because as a consultant for 40 years, people use consultants. People are half hopeful and half afraid when engaging a consultant. Half hopeful that they'll solve their problem, and half afraid it's going to cost them money. It's that simple.
Well, I was going to say there's another half there, but there can't be another half. But
okay, so let's break it into thirds. What is it?
So there's another piece in there. What's going to be recommended is a place where I'm really uncomfortable going.
Well, okay, that's the half afraid.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
so I think we've come to understand something, that when I look at the buying process, the now, whenever a client decides to do it now, that is always based on emotion. As much as they think it's fact, it's always emotion. And if you can understand their emotional journey that they're going down, you will be able to help them make that decision or kick them. And often it's as valuable to kick them as it is to convert them, because if you kick them, they'll remember that, and often that leads to other clients down the road. And what I mean is, if someone isn't, it's often good to say to someone, I know where you're going, I have a way for you to get there, but you're not comfortable with that. I know a person named Lowell Ann who will take a different approach to this.
Mm-hmm.
You should talk to her because I think you're a better fit. But you have to know where they are emotionally in order to even know to do that. So it's finding that emotion. And I hate to admit it, having spent some time working with people that sell timeshares, I've watched this emotional thing go just crazy. And here's something you'll appreciate: the hardest people to sell to are engineers.
Yes.
So good luck.
I remember back in the day when I was selling life insurance, and I was sitting in the guy's what we call jelly on the elbows, kitchen table selling. And this referral, the guy was an engineer for Grumman. And so I went through that. He goes, oh, you're an engineer? Oh. And I closed up the book. And I said, listen, I don't work with engineers, but I have a guy in the office that likes to be abused, so I'm going to send him out to talk to you. And then as we got, the guy laughed like you did, Paul, and we engaged. So now he's got his slide rule out. This was before the LED calculator. And he's so proud of that slide rule. And I said, have you taught Mary how to use that? Well, no. Why? I said, because when you die, she's going to have to learn.
Right on. Oh, that's cool. Well,
if I can, in evaluating, I've come up with a process. As I mentioned to you, all of you, I only work with about 6 to 8 clients at a time. And occasionally, I will have a short wait list of people to work with. When I don't, I do an AdWords campaign for about 10 days. And from that, I get suspects. And then what I do is I engage by calling those people, and we're having a conversation like we're having now.
Mm-hmm.
And I will ask them, would you be open to having a face-to-face meeting over a cup of coffee? And if there's a fit, okay, and they are, okay, usually a large percent of the time they're open, because that's why I like working in the touchy-feely market, because it's fun for my practice. And I will say to them, okay, but understand this before we meet. As you know, I'm a digital marketing engagement specialist, but I do not have any pre-packaged off-the-shelf product to sell you. I am genuinely interested in hearing about your business and an opportunity under favorable conditions to tell you how I do what it is I could do and how it benefits to you. And with that understood, the half afraid is gone away. And then I say to them, I have a landing page, and I say to them, here's what I'd like you to do. I would like you to go to this landing page and answer these 2 questions. And the 2 questions are, if you could sit down with a digital marketing consultant and ask him or her 2 important questions, what would they be? It's that simple. And in that, when they answer that, and I get that little email from Unbounce, it speaks tones of what they want. And so the theory behind that is, binary is, make people want what it is that you got, and then don't give it to them. Teach them how to get it.
Don't give it to them.
Well, if you give it to them, it's okay.
I get it. I get it.
All right. You get it? All right. Thank you.
So I'm concerned about our time here. And I feel as though one of the questions that we started off with, we have not addressed. And that was that question of that Paul said, we got to put this right up front. What that client, as a prospect, we have to know that they have the ability to pay.
Oh, that's an easy question. You just say, I'll be glad to talk to you about that, but please understand, one of the most important questions I'm going to ask you is about your budget.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid. It's called believing in the hereafter. If you're not, you ask them, do you believe in the hereafter? If you're not here after what I'm here after, you're going to be here after I'm gone.
So basically what you're saying, and I think that was one of the pieces that I learned in the Sandler program, was that you did actually have actually have to bring it up and say, how does this fit your budget? Yeah.
Loyal, I had a Sandler franchise when they were $9,000 back in the 70s.
You're kidding.
Yes, but I sold. Now they sell for what, 50, 60,000?
I don't know.
I had sold that to a coworker, but yeah, you get the money issue. The beauty behind the Sandler selling was you closed up front.
Yeah.
And you get the money issue out right away, because there's what I dislike in the buying and selling process is mutual mystification. Because one party is sitting over there not to try to buy, and the other party is sitting over there trying to sell. But if you say, think about this. As a chiropractor told me one time, he said, imagine palpating someone's back, and they're just talking 90 to nothing, and you want them to focus on their body, and you say you're touching their upper clavicle, and you say, what's this lump? And there's this shrieking silence, pregnant with possibilities. Did he say lump? Oh, he used the M word. He's asking about money. How am I going to get out of that? And it goes something like this. In round numbers, could you tell me how much you're interested in investing, increasing your ROI in your business? In round numbers. Well, I'll know when I can. And that's fluff. So you say, okay, so is it $500 to $1,000 a month? Is it $1,200 to $1,800 a month? Is it $2,400 to $3,600 a month? You tell me. Okay, it's about $200. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. Next.
Yeah. But we're all programmed. At least I was programmed as a child to not talk about money.
There's two things a man never asks a woman. One thing. Any question that ends with a number.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, listen, you work hard for. Okay, I agree with you, Lola. I agree with you that you were trained, and that's great. It sounds like you've got what they used to say, fetching. Okay, but the deal is you've developed some really ugly habits over the decades. You live indoors. You eat 2 to 3 meals a day.
Right.
And if you don't get that money issue out of the way, you're just spinning. You're just whistling Dixie in the dark.
Yeah, I must say that when I do my my upfront consultation, I'm quite I've learned to be able to just bring that up. I've got questions that I'm able to raise, and I give them an opportunity to raise the question if they want to, but if they don't, I do. So yeah.
Yeah, you really have to
Mm-hmm.
address that. It's so that it becomes an integral part of
Yeah.
the closing process.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a budget, you can recommend 1,000 hours of consultancy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you find out well, I got to wait till I sell my house before I can afford this.
Yeah.
Because
Or
suddenly,
the typical one for women is, oh, I've got to talk to my husband first.
I got an answer for that. Let me help you. You say to the woman, so Mary, do you make the major decisions when it comes to this kind of thing? Of course. Okay. Now all of a sudden you get down to the other end of the spectrum, of the funnel, and she goes, well, I've got to ask Jim about this. Oh, wait a second. You told me earlier over lunch that you made all the decisions relative to this. Now all of a sudden you grew a husband? Don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean that's an obvious. That's just I mean, an answer like that is just an obvious way to try to get out of to say no, and
Okay.
it's people who people will say that when they don't know how to say no.
Right.
Can I add some closing thoughts?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Going back to our original topic, tools to evaluate a prospect. I think one of the easiest things is and I think there's a few people in this panel that use it, is a form or a survey, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
So however you acquire the prospect, we all have different systems and different methods, but so once you're in that interview process or meeting process, I think if you have some sort of checklist or form where you can fill out or they can fill out ad hoc, then it gives you a good idea, their budget, and I think if you're at that point when they're filling in a form, you understand that they're willing to spend money as opposed to just being a tire kicker, my opinion. But and I think having a simple form, whether it's a piece of paper or whether it's an online form, Google offers a free service called Google Docs or Google Drive now, whereas you can create a form.
Mm-hmm.
It could be an interactive form where your client fills out, or it could be your own, something that you fill out as your interview. It's all up to you. But I think that's probably one of the easiest tools to use to evaluate a prospect, because then you have this needs analysis type of survey or checklist, and then you can determine how you can help that client.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a useful thing to consider.
Jay, I have to endorse that. There is a company in Victoria that does that for other companies, that builds really interesting forms that take people down the pathway to discover for themselves if they are good customers, and in the process it supplies the companies with invaluable information about the people, because the people, as they go down this, there's no reason to lie on it. It's a form for their edification. It's presented to them as a way of saying, if you think you're interested, here's the path. And as they go down it, they may discover that they're not interested, but it's a really, really valuable tool. I endorse that.
That whole self-evaluation is really quite it's quite a widespread trend right now for a lot of people doing a lot of a variety of things. Yeah. So Paul, just before oh yes, we're over over the time. So when you asked that question, or when you said, that prospect needs to be able to pay, how do you determine whether that person is able to pay? Do you ask them just by simply what we've been talking about, or do you have another way?
It depends a lot on the person I'm talking to, but the way I usually approach it is to try and get an estimation from them of their value of their time. So if they don't have an understanding of their own, if they don't have an understanding of the value of their time, what their time is worth to them, they won't be a client fit for me. I know that because I know immediately this is a concept they don't understand. Even if they've got the money, it's not going to work because they have to understand that time is worth something, and
Right.
I need to get that piece out almost as fast as I can. So that's how I engage it.
Mm.
One of the ways to back into that is discuss with a prospect their break-even point on an hourly basis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know right there what you know what the min-max for your rate is.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I run into
and you understand fully if they even understand what you're talking about.
Well, yeah.
I run into solopreneurs that can't even define what their rate should be and why it should be that.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time with clients
so
helping them sort that out.
That becomes the cookies in the educational process.
Mm-hmm.
Make people want what it is you got. Gee, if I go with this gal, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn that, I'm going to learn this. Heck,
yeah.
It's a bargain at any price. If something has value, price really isn't an interest. We buy what we want first. We buy what we need second.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm thinking it's time for us to stop the broadcast. We've been on here for about an hour. We've really had an interesting and lively conversation about sales and qualifying clients. And I started off by saying that I didn't know, I wasn't able to think of specific tangible tools, but now that we've had that conversation, I think I'm agreeing with Jay when he said, your website is one of your main tools. And I think I demonstrated that the way we use and engage in our social media is another tool. So but the conversation, the engagement, the conversation, and the structure of the conversation is another critical tool. So does anybody have anything to throw in at last minute before we say this is a wrap-up? Okay. This is a wrap-up for our Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. We certainly have bashed the topic around really well this morning. I hope the viewers out there will find it useful and thought-provoking. That's the purpose of this, to share what we know and to exchange ideas, etc. So please be sure to join the Being Your Own CEO community on Google+, and be aware that you're welcome to post things there, share what you know, etc. And if YouTube is your pleasure, please go and join my YouTube channel. It's all there. So thank you for a stimulating conversation this morning, everyone, and we'll see you next week.